All right, Joe and Mike with our special guest Randy Rohde back again, buildassetsonline.com. I am very, very excited for this show. I connected with Randy because I reached out to him for help with one of our sites that we're going to keep anonymous for this show. But either way, I've been kind of delving into, you know, what people are doing in the SEO agency world and kind of delving into more like strictly SEO content. And, it's a kind of a whole different world. I've kind of been focusing on the specific strategies that I do, that I show our students, which we'll talk about a little bit. But some of the stuff that Randy's doing, that other people are doing, have really opened my eyes as to how the sausage is made. Well, if let's just say. So without further ado, I wanted to start with an introduction. Who is Randy Rohde? Who are you?
Oh, this is me now. I thought, all right. Have you ever heard of Paul? Oh God, I can't even remember his name. Verdi. He has a YouTube show called the SEO Video Show, and
that's how I found you.
Yes, I was on his show, and the intros that he does. Oh my gosh, it's like this. I mean, it is like Hollywood-esque, like real. That is fabulous. I thought you were going to run that on me. I thought you were going to do the Paul DeAndre video reel on me. I'm like, go, Joe, go. Yeah. All right. All right. So not that. That's all right. So who is Randy Rohde? Well, let's see. I've been doing SEO since really kind of 2008. I was in a whole nother industry, and we had started another kind of supporting company with, I was in the education space, and we decided we needed to do a call center and to help support our business. And then I thought, well, I'm going to do this call center, and so maybe we're going to have capacity, and we'll try to get other business with that. And so in 2008, I then got into, that's when I first did our first website, or my first website. And then I started playing around with PPC and started kind of beginning to dig in a little bit around SEO and what is that game. And then I got out of that business in 2012, and then kind of in 13, I was doing some stuff because I was doing some SEO stuff and PPC stuff for some kind of friends of ours. I started doing that like in 2010. And when I sold my business, they were like, hey, can you still do this for us? I'm like, okay, great. And so I did that kind of part-time. And then I know in 2015, 16, decided just to open up the agency, and we've been doing it ever since. And then in our agency, we do full web design, hosting. We do SEO, local SEO. Do a lot of content creation, which I'll kind of dig in here, which is content creation for us. We write a bunch of articles and content for our sites and our client sites. But then in 2017, had this idea about doing press releases, because I kind of felt like it was an opportunity that the barrier to entry was fairly high, and it didn't seem like there were a lot, like you go on to some of these platforms and everybody is selling links, right? I mean, and so I'm like, well, if you're looking for some other service, I don't want to get into link selling necessarily, because anybody can do that. But so we decided to build out a newsroom, and we went live with that right at the end of 2017. And so we do a lot of press releases. So I have a writing staff and editing staff that just focuses on press releases. And and so we do direct distribution. We've got a few different networks that we focus and kind of couple together to do different kinds of things. But AP News, Benzinga, Morningstar, Business Insider, ton of other things, Google News sites, all of that fun stuff.
So we were talking a little bit before the show, and as the name implies, our goal and what we've been doing since 2014 is essentially building assets online, keeping them, let them generate income, or flipping them. And what I liked about what you said before the show is, you're not only working in the agency space, but you kind of delve into flipping websites yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. And I'm a big believer that I think you have to have multiple streams of revenue in your organization. So, I wanted to be more than just a digital marketing agency, that I wanted other kinds of things because, who knows what could happen, right? Google could do something crazy and everything gets spun on its ear, or the pandemic happens, right? I mean, I remember March of 20, we lost half of our agency clients, like within 5 days. It was like people just turning it in. So, in my mind, it was always like, well, if I have multiple streams of revenue, if one goes away or one takes a big hit, it's not going to sink the ship. Not going to put me in bankruptcy or something like that, right? So this is why we started up the press release side. So that's a whole separate entity of business that we can do. And then the other aspect is, affiliate. So we do affiliate marketing, and with our goal, not necessarily just to like have websites that are like really driving, high, making hundreds of thousands of dollars. But our goal is get them up to a certain level of monthly revenue and then flip them. And we kind of have settled into a pattern. I don't know if you want me to go into this or not.
Sure. I mean, yeah, just, the reason I asked is because what I've noticed sometimes is that it's kind of a different experience between people that do strictly agency stuff and people that are actually building and flipping online assets. It's almost two separate things in a way. And I feel like you probably get a lot of great experience and great insight doing both things.
Well, yes, I think, but in my mind, I think especially building affiliate sites and flipping them, but building them and growing them is, it's very much in polls, and we are able to leverage our talent and our tools, resources that we utilize in our SEO, side of our business, our agency side of our business, and press release side of the business, to build up these affiliate sites. So that seemed like a very easy crossover, but allowed us to have, another, aspect of revenue for us. So, but it really does just kind of fall into my theory of you should have different streams of revenue to protect yourself against any one particular issue.
Well, let me ask a question real quick, if I can. So before we went live, you had mentioned, you basically are building your own websites every year and then trying to flip them within a year. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
So something that surprised me when you kind of said that was it sounded like you're able to achieve a high level of consistency when it comes to being able to create websites, get them cash flowing and ready to sell within a year. And I think that's what we struggled with on the pure SEO side is like, we'll make a site and, maybe a lot of it was trial and error since we've been kind of just learning this for the last few years. Getting a website up and cash flowing and getting in that, $4,000 to $10,000 of revenue within a year. So my question is, so you've been able to get websites up and get them cash flowing in that sweet spot, that $4,000 to $10,000 revenue sweet spot within a year with consistency every year?
Now you're going to put me with consistency. Sometimes they will take longer. Some sites, we've held for up to 18 months. I don't like to do that because when you're playing the game that we're doing, some of it is, we're just doing a big investment in the site, right? In order up until the point that it's breaking even at least. But, generally I go and buy for this particular purpose, excuse me, we buy age domains. So I'm out looking for, and I do stay within a particular niche because one, it's an interest of mine. But if you stay within a niche, then you can kind of leverage your expertise in some of the back end network stuff, maybe that you built to help drive some sites. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. But we'll go buy an age domain. And I mean, I've paid up to $5,000 for an age domain that's got this monstrous backlink profile. And then before we even launch the site, we're going to invest and put somewhere between 100 to 150,000 words of content, and have it all ready. And then we'll take the site live. And so we've already have, 30 to 40 articles already on the site. And then we just blow it up and then get into a pattern where we're just, adding content at a pretty fast pace on a weekly, monthly basis in order to build up the traffic. And so.
Yeah. One thing that we found, one thing that we like to preach is we like to find like business models that like work really like, okay. So when you first get started in SEO, I'll give you an example of where we went wrong when we first learned about what SEO was. So we were doing high ticket drop shipping. I think we had like 4 or 5 stores at the time. And we bought like the Authority Hacker course. This was like in 2017, 2017 or something. And, I kind of didn't know what to do really. So I tried to make a site about like blenders, which is a very a competitive Amazon affiliate niche. And like you were explaining, it just felt like the investment into it and the time it took to rank and make a lot of money, it was definitely an uphill battle for someone that was new to the space.
Right.
But anyway, long story short, what we kind of discovered over time, and this has actually kind of changed a lot in the age of AI, but what we've kind of discovered over time was that what was really effective was going after long tail, low competition, high ticket stuff. So I kind of wish we started doing stuff on our drop shipping stores before we started doing the affiliate stuff. Because what we found when we started doing it with the drop shipping stores, you're selling products that you make $500-$600, $600, sometimes over $1,000 profit on, and you could have a search keyword that's like 20 search volume. And then you just need like 1-2 sales a month from that page. And it's totally worth the investment. So yeah, I don't want to stick around too much on this point because the goal of the show is kind of I have a mock drop shipping store for you that we're going to look at. And I want to, as we learn more and more about what press releases are and some of your techniques, I want you to look at the store. We're going to have this scenario, and then, you're going to come up with a linking strategy live on the spot for us, Randy. I thought it would be fun.
Yes, I've done so much research on this. It's going to be good. This is some of my best work right here.
No, it's a pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. All right. So I want to talk about the current state of Google, which in my opinion, there's lots of opportunity with AI, no matter what niche you're in.
Yeah.
We have a site right now that I pump out like 1,000 AI articles a day. It's getting over 1.5 million visitors, just monetized with Mediavine. Using AI on our drop shipping stores as well to do like content refreshes and things like that. So, I feel like I kind of hit my stride with SEO when I figured out how to use the AI because it just relieved so much of the content production costs.
Right.
I hated dealing with writer. Like I hated all that stuff.
Yeah.
But this kind of turned it into a whole different game. So
not only the cost, but the process, right? Because and I have to be honest with you, we do the same. We do the same thing, except for our press releases. We manually write all of our press release content, but on our affiliate sites, all we're doing is all AI content. And I do have an editor that does go in and review and edit and kind of optimize from an SEO standpoint to be sure this stuff is dialed in tight. but removing the writing issue was so much. God, it just sped the whole process up and dropped, a ton of expense out as well. So,
yeah, I mean, at first I didn't know what to make of it, but now I love it. I mean, it's just dealing with less people, etc. So, tons of opportunity. I believe that. I think a lot of people who see the opportunities believe that. But I want to talk about the current state of link building, because this is one of the things that kind of doesn't perplex me, but like when I started in 2017, you could build an authority site or a niche site. You do outreach, you do like a shotgun skyscraper technique, and it was fairly new. You see like how like someone like Brian Dean talks about building links. You outreach, you build relationships, X, Y, and Z. But I mean, the truth is, for most websites, whether it's a local site, an affiliate site, an e-commerce site, that's just not reality. You're going to have to pay to get backlinks in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. Up to a point when the only kind of thing that I would add to that or modify a little bit, you will up to a point, because at a certain point of the site's growth, you will start to earn just organic backlinks.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
So, yeah. So, and I don't know, what that magic pill is, but once you have enough content and some good quality content, and you kind of differentiate a little bit. So, like when we're doing, like we're going to craft and put a lot of effort into very specific money pages that we're anticipating to be high conversion pages for us. So those we handwrite, we handhold those things. And when you are looking for good content and good activity on those things, those are the pages that tend to attract the organic backlinks from it. And I think once you start getting probably in that, I don't know, a few thousand hits a month, that's somewhere in that neighborhood is where you start building organic backlinks.
Yeah, it does happen, and I see it happen on our sites, and I'm always surprised. But I guess the challenge that I have with it is, we get a lot of backlinks on like our informational content.
Right.
And it's like, if we have a dropshipping store and we have, say, 10 out of our 15 pages that we really want to rank, we got them ranking, but we have these other 5 that we really want to move the needle on. And, we've done all our on-page correctly. So, everything's good. We have our topical authority down. I guess what I'm saying is I want to explore, we need to do like a sniper technique to take these pages that are kind of not where they need to be and get them where they need to be. And, unfortunately, I wish it was the case, but I don't know if the organic links coming in is always going to get you there.
Yes, that's exactly right. Well, and so I love Ted Kabitis. I don't know if you probably know Ted or have heard of him at least. Ted has this whole theory about doing minimum SEO, right? What is the minimal SEO you need to do in order to start both ranking your page and attracting more traffic and links to it? And so, in his experience and in his research, he will say that at minimum, you have to have 20 referring domains, 20 different referring domains on a page. Any page, you have to have at least 20 minimum. And then what you need to do is like, I don't know if it's deep freezers, right? And that's what you're trying to sell, or that's what your article is about. Go look at the competition, right? Go look what's going on out there in those pages, and get and understand how many referring domains do those pages have that that are ranking, in the top 10. And then that's got to be your target. Then you're like, all right, is that 400? Is that 600 referring domains that are hitting that page? Is that only 50? And then go from that standpoint. Then look at that link profile, or how are they? Do they have 50? But they have 10 that are DR of 60 or 80 or whatever, and you don't necessarily have to have those same exact links, but you do need to kind of replicate that profile to an extent.
Cool. Well, let's get into some examples here, and I want to see. We're going to get into the press release stuff, specifically with what you're talking about. So I know you're on your phone. You're having some internet issues.
God, yes, I couldn't even believe that my internet went out here in our office. I'm like, what? Yeah. All right. So I'm zooming in on this thing. So looking at it. Yeah.
So this is a fake store that I've created here. Sinks
What
Direct.
does that say? Sinks. Nice.
Sinks Direct USA. All right. And here at Sinks Direct USA, we have two product categories. We have slop sinks, and we have granite kitchen sinks.
Nice.
And then we have blog,
our
some blog pages,
everything going on. Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
So this site, everything is set up. It's all made. We're making some profit from the Google ads.
Yep.
If you owned this site, what would be the first that? Well, let's now with this as the example, what would be the first thing you would do? And you say now your goal is like, I gotta rank the slop sinks page.
Right.
Let's talk about from your perspective as the press release guy.
Right.
Mike, did you share this on Discord, by the way?
Oh, the link I did not. I'll do that right now.
What would be the first? First, explain what a press release is, and then what would be your first plan of action here?
Right. All right. So I'll do a quick definition of a press release and what you would expect from it, at least. So a press release really is we're writing an article that has to be newsworthy, and I don't know if you can see my air quotes, right? Newsworthy. So it's something that about the company, maybe about a product, updated website, you've released some new information or a new resource, a new article, you're expanding services, expanding inventory, right? I mean, you could just like sit down and come up with 50 different kind of ideas for a press release for your product or your page that you're doing, your company. And then you craft the article depending upon what your objective is. So you're saying slop sinks was like, hey, we want to start ranking this slop sinks. I don't even, what the hell is a slop sink? What is that? I don't even know what that is.
Like a sink you have in your like your laundry room or your garage or something.
Oh, okay. That's a slop. I always we always call that the utility sink.
I was gonna say that some people call it a utility sink.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I call it. There we go. I grew up on a farm, and so as soon as I see the word slop, I'm like, what? Yeah. But if your objective is, I want to rank my utility sink page, then I begin to think, okay, well, what is this utility sink? What can I write about from a press release standpoint? Did we update the content? Did we expand information? Did we expand our resource of information about utility sinks? So I'm thinking about that. But then I also want to, what are some informational long tail semantic phrases or terms that I would like to be able to utilize in my article and possibly utilize even for anchors that I might be able to then link to my utility sink page. So I don't want to do an exact match link to, utility sink and then go link to my page. I don't want to do that because it's, I think that's always at risk when you do that especially directly to your money page, to your money sites. But I'm very comfortable in doing some kind of a long tail semantic relative phrase. So maybe uh, utility sink usage in the garage. Maybe that's, something, right? And so we'll begin to pull together some of these semantic phrases. We'll then begin to salt and begin to build our article around it. This is why I don't use AI for this stuff, because it's subtle, right? There's a nuance to writing this stuff that I don't think you can just dive into with AI in a press release. But generally we break down, we're like, hey, what was the name of this? It was Thinks Direct. So Thinks Direct announces, expansion of resources and information regarding about utility sinks. And we'll talk a little bit. That'll be kind of the opening paragraph. We may end up, talk a little bit about a utility sink. Second paragraph, we'll expand on the concept about utility sinks, the new information. Maybe there's some stat that we can pull in. Maybe we'll make up some crazy quote even from the article author or expert, the company's expert on utility sinks. Another paragraph, then we'll talk about Sinks Direct and what do they do and what are they known for, and we'll make up a quote from the CEO of Sinks Direct, and then we'll tie it back into back to the article, our main page that we're trying to drive, and it will be, hey, to learn more information, and we'll do I like to do here a naked URL to whatever the page that we're trying to drive some traffic to and or link toward. Naked URL is always very safe. Drop that in there. And then anywhere that we're trying to build a link, from a press release standpoint, we're wanting to be sure that there's relative content to the subject or topic that we're going to go link to. So if it's utility sink, I want to be sure in that, the first, 10 to 8 words before that anchor and 8 to 10 words after that anchor are semantically relevant to that anchor and that topic. So I don't want to break that up, because really it's, as Google is reading that stuff, they're like, hey, here's some content about utility sinks, and then there's an anchor right in the middle of it. Great, boom, it must be. And so that's kind of a strategy that we then we kind of bounce around. We're always going to do a branded anchor to Sinks Direct, to whatever the company is. We'll do 1 or 2 pages or anchors to our target page that we really want to build up. And we'll do that, and we'll generally do a naked URL. And then maybe we'll do a branded foundational link somewhere, maybe in the about section of the press release, about Sinks Direct, blah, 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 and connect with us on our Facebook page or something. But we'll do either a branded Sinks Direct and linking out to maybe their Facebook page or a LinkedIn page. And so we'll generally kind of structure something around that regard. You release the press release, depending upon our different packages, but you'll get anywhere from, 400 to 700 referring domains hitting, your anchors and hitting your anchor links. So it's a great way to, in a very inexpensive way, to build a bunch of referring domains to pages.
Right. That's so to keep that. So our audience might not be super savvy as to anchor text, words around the anchor text. So I'll just kind of summarize what you said.
Yeah. I'll let you teach that part.
in a few simple terms. Basically, you're putting out a newsworthy press release that is semantically related to the pages that you're doing. And by the way, if someone is going to, buy your services,
right,
they don't have to worry about how close the anchor text is and the, whether it's branded enough. You would take care of that on your end, right?
Yeah, we take care of that.
All right. So that's all. Just people need to know is that you have a very relevant new press release getting out into the news sphere. that's very semantically related to the stuff you're trying to sell. And Google likes this, apparently.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, can we back up for a second?
Yeah.
Because to be clear, Randy, Joe handles all the SEO stuff, so I'm very novice with this. So when you say semantically related, you're basically saying the words that you're using when you're linking out to Syncs Direct or whatever. You don't want to just have every link say Syncs Direct or every link say Flop Syncs, right? So you
exactly. Yes. Yeah. So if you and you could use AI for this if you want to, like, hey, give me semantic relative entities for slap sync or utility sync. And I was just doing this with one of our editors, and we just did it in Claude. And and we said, give me 20, or you can whatever number you want, just to generate like, okay, so like maybe it's a pail sync, mop rinse sync, and so you can begin to just riff on what potential semantic relative terms may be or entities may be for that, and that's what you'd want to try to drive within your article.
Well, so to keep going on this point, so you make this article, it's newsworthy, quote unquote. My question is, why would any of these? You said you kind of syndicated to over 400 different news companies. Like, why would any of them pick this up and want to publish this article about this random website who is now carrying slop sinks? Like, who cares?
Right. Well, generally, we actually distribute. So depending upon, so we have different levels of packages, right? But we will distribute to anywhere from 500 to 900 different news sites. And not all of them pick it up. I mean, certainly some of them are like, I'll pass. But, a good chunk will pick it up because they're starving for content. They want content as well. And, and so that's, they operate off of content. And it's a way for them to do it. So,
and is that just like, I mean, maybe you can give us some insight into this, because I don't really go on too many news sites. Like, I feel like once in a while, my mom will like send me something from like the New York Post, and I'll like click on the website, and it's got like, I don't know, it's like got the article, and then it's got like 10 million other places you could be clicking.
Right.
So those, from what I kind of gather from that, is those news sites, they really like to drive you to click around, I guess, for more ad impressions. So is that kind of their thinking? Is that, they just have all these people on the site, they're just throwing up different stuff, maybe to different geolocations or whatever, is that, am I on the right track there?
Yeah, I think, a news page or a news site, their business model is, they want traffic. They've got ads. They're selling ads, both online ads and other type of ads. They're also, tracking. So, as they see people come into their sites, they're going to start laying out cookies, and then, it becomes more affordable to them, or more valuable to them, I should say. So, they have their specific kind of business model that they're trying to drive, and using your content as a means to help achieve that. So, this is kind of this fictitious kind of idea about, the slop sinks. But, if you're a real business, if you're a real, a plumber, or you've got a barber shop or whatever, and you are generating a press release about something, you're going to get real traffic. And after we distribute a press release, you're generally going to get another 10 to 15% of organic news pickups after our distribution. Some little small town, Iowa, like, hey, we saw that and we like that story, and it's kind of relative. We just did something about it, and they'll pick it up and publish it as well. And, maybe we've done press releases for travel sites and or vacation rental sites. And I could go back through and look at these things and find, a ton of small regional news sites that picked it up and as a means of like just providing color content for their audience. So, yeah.
In the sake of I feel like you can even probably make this slop sinks thing kind of interesting if you like, talking about statistics. If you do like,
right,
I don't know, slop sink purchases up 50% as cleaning.
Yes, exactly.
wins.
Yeah. Stats are always great. So if you can come up with a stat of some sort, but yeah, exactly like your example. Oh, that even helps. That helps on the organic side. I mean, we're going to get you placed. That's just going to happen. But on the organic side, when you start kind of throwing stuff like that with a stats, and if you can kind of build it appropriately within a headline, oh yeah, you'll get some good visibility with that.
That's one of the things that when I listened to kind of the stuff that you were saying on some of the other shows that you were on, that's when I kind of realized, oh wow, that actually sounds interesting, because when I've heard about other people doing press releases, it's kind of spammy. Like I've seen some that some people send me, like just people I know in my area, and it seemed like kind of just like they were just putting it out for the sake of putting it out. But the way you're saying that you guys handle it, it's almost like, it makes more sense, because you can make even a boring thing interesting. Right.
So on this, here this is an affiliate site. By the way, we do PRs for our affiliate sites as well. But if you're a real company,
this was an e-commerce site, so we would be selling the slop sinks.
Yeah, but as a real company, you want to try to get visibility, and both on your brand and the visibility on your site, and get traffic into your site. And then PR is a great way to do all of those things. And if you're an SEO agency and you're dealing with clients, I mean, what a great way if you've got Sinks Direct is my client, and I'm like, I go tell them like, hey, Mr. CEO, go do a Google search on your brand. What comes up? And boom, there is Sinks Direct, and they're listed in Yahoo or AP News, an article about them right on the first page. I mean, like, that's a home run for me, right? As their marketing agency.
Yeah. And it seems like, back to what I was trying to get at before when I was talking about the current state of link building, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here. It seems to me like Google wants you to appear more and more like a real business.
Right.
And it seems like these press releases kind of perhaps to Google semantically associate your brand name with the products or whatever the services in your press release. They could see, hey, only a real business, this isn't like some spam site. Only a real business is going to put out a press release about selling their slop sinks if they actually sell slop sinks. Is that
right?
Is that line of thinking correct? Like how Google views it?
Absolutely. So what you want to communicate to Google or to any of the search engines is that you're a real business, you're a real company, right? You're building that authoritative expertise, and a press release is just a great way to do that, because you're associating your brand with specific content around either your service or your product that you as a business are doing. And don't, Joe, you and I were talking about this the other day, which is, don't be bashful about doing, a number of press releases. We do press releases for our clients every month, and some clients we do multiple a month. I mean, if you're a real business, think about some of the big brands and big businesses out there, Procter and Gamble or Microsoft or Amazon. I mean, they're doing a press release daily, depending upon what's happening for them, because they're a big company and that's what they're going to do. So if you're doing a PR once a month, that's very realistic. And the more that you do that, you're associating your brand with content within those articles. It's going to continue to drive up your brand authority and expertise within that specific niche.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Versus, Google kind of moving more in that direction of that brand association versus just saying, oh, this site has a guest post from whatever,
Right. Right.
So that's what makes sense to me. But one of the interesting things we got into on our call was that you don't just put out these press releases. I mean, you kind of have obviously a lot of SEO acumen yourself. So
right.
One of the things we talked about was press release stacking.
Right.
So can we talk a little bit about that? So okay.
Yeah. So a strategy that we will do, and we term it as stacking, is we're going to do a succession of press releases, and so we'll write the good one, the first one, press release 1, and then there's a number of different ways that you can do this, but we'll go on the more simple, which is I'm coming at it now with press release number 2. And as a way to help leverage the effort of the first press release, I'm going to take one of my really good, juicy news sites, might be AP News, it could be Benzinga, and I'll take that URL of our first press release story from, we'll say, Benzinga, and I will use that as the hyperlink for an anchor. And it can be when you do that with that anchor, then it doesn't even necessarily need to be, semantically relevant to whatever that piece of content is. It can be a very broad term about your topic or about the niche that you're in, and use that press release link in with that anchor in press release number 2. And then that way, all of the news sites that you're getting from press release 2 are acting as that tier 2 link boost to that powerful press release at Benzinga or AP News, whichever one you want to use, or any of those. And so it pushes that even further. The reason why you would want to do that is for a couple of different reasons. One, those news sites, I'll stay with Benzinga. So Benzinga, they're monitoring, they're seeing, what's going on in the back end of their articles and site as well. And they'll say like, hey, there's this article is getting some activity and it's being quoted as well or being linked to in other news sites. So one of the things that we want to do is maintain the life cycle or push the life cycle of any press release. So every news site kind of has their own defined term, we'll call it, of a news article. And that they may only, before they archive it, they may only keep it active for 60 days, 90 days, 6 months. Every site kind of defines their own. But you can alter that or impact that or influence it if you do a few different kinds of things. One is which other authoritative sites are linking to that particular article. So again, that's why you want to do this with every single one because it would be kind of too consuming to do it. But for the real strong, powerful links, like an AP News or Benzinga, you want to be sure those things stay online as long as you can push them. So by linking to them, that's a great way to do it. Then they're going to get traffic as well, which is kind of another signal for these news sites. People are linking to it. Good authoritative sites are linking to it. We're getting traffic to this. Let's leave this story up. It's got legs. And then you can kind of do the same thing with your next successive. So do it, press release number 3, maybe pull one of the links from PR number 2 and use that. And then it's pushing all that juice up forward as well, which ultimately is going to push juice up and authority up to the original links within that first press release that's going out to your money site and your money pages.
So to clarify, you do the first press release, whatever, all the stuff we talked about originally, and then let's say you do the second press release, you can look at, okay, the first one got picked up by this big agency, this big news company, whatever. So when you do the second one, you're linking back to the first one, which you're linking back to, say, like AP. If the first one got picked up by AP, you do the second press release, and in the second press release, you link back to where the first one was posted by AP,
Right.
and that keeps the link on AP active. It draws more traffic to them. They say, okay, this is, a good article. They leave it up longer, therefore
Right.
more juice flows.
Right.
To
So you keep that link longer, right? And that's some people will argue like, well, press releases, they're not permanent links, which is true. So I'm not going to deny that they're not permanent links, as that is just the business of a press release, right? They're relative, they're topical, but I would say there's a lot of links maybe that you would go by that are not going to be permanent either. As much as they will say they're not going to be permanent, they're going to either roll off the homepage or get stuck in the archive, or eventually just go away because the site goes down, and or they just archive pages or whatever. So I don't think anything is permanent, but certainly PRs have probably a shorter shelf life, meaning that anywhere from probably 180 to a year, 180 days to a year's worth of time, some maybe even shorter. And I will tell you, our particular contract that we have with AP News guarantees that ours will be active for 18 months. So at least on that one, that's why I like to link with AP News, because I know it's going to be there. At minimum 18 months, and a lot of times we can push them further. I just did a presentation at Digital Unfiltered, which was an SEO conference just last month, and I was showing there, examples of some of this activity that we do with our PRs, and I've got PRs that are active still, that are going on 3 years old, plus actually. I think one that we had done and had posted from, and I wasn't even doing like a heavy research. It was like, hey, let me find something that's out there that's like from 19 or 20, and sure enough, I could find stuff out there just on our agency stuff. And that's the idea. Is like, I want to hold on to these links, right, as long as you can, and continue to utilize them. And then once you have a series of press releases, so you don't necessarily always have to go in this sequential chain. So maybe after press release number 4, instead of linking to number 3, I may go back and link to number 2, or all the way back to number 1 if I want. If it makes sense, if the content is like, oh, that's a better one to link to instead of the other one. Yeah, and that's just a way to continue to push that stuff.
Right. Yeah, I've done some research on just kind of looking at some of the ones you put out. I mean, I've seen pretty old ones as well, 2021.
Yeah.
Yahoo Finance, just old, I feel like it's not any different than any sort of guest posts or anything like that. Like,
no.
And it's
exactly.
like, links there's like a link decay thing as well. So even if it's there for 5 years, it loses any link is going to lose its value a little bit.
Right.
And also there's another phenomenon where there's a delay from when you take the link off the page. Like if the link goes away, it's not like your rankings drop right away.
Right.
Some sort of
ghost
effect.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's all really good stuff to think about. This has been very in-depth show. I think a lot of people are going to go back and watch it after the fact. I wanted to talk about, so I think we have this process here. There was one more technical thing I wanted to ask you, and then I want to talk about just more, like how, so we've kind of established the process. I wanted to hop on your website and talk about like what people should be doing, say if they own Slop Sinks USA.
Right. So, and also, if I could, Joe, let me even touch base on, so after you have your press release, so I've had conversations with folks like, I did this press release and, it didn't do everything I was hoping. My very first question after that is, well, what did you do after your press release? And I always get kind of a deer in a headlight look like, well, what do you mean? But with your press release, then you should put it out on your social media. Hey, we just like this, boom, and then go link to, and then there's a ton of different places that you could link to, right? You could go link to one of the news sites that the release is on, or you could link to, even like what we do is when we do a report, we send you a link. So it's a web page report that then you can download either the PDF file version of it or an Excel file of it. So you could go link to that web page report if you wanted to, or better yet, what I would say would be pull off the PDF file, create a link for that, and link to that in your social media, in wherever you want to place that. Take that PDF file, because that PDF report is going to have all of the 400, 500, 600 PR links, all going to be active links on that PDF file. And then you can go distribute that thing everywhere. And the more places you put it, the more juice that's going to go hit all of those things. So, it's, you have to think about, what can I do with this press release now after the fact to help support it, to help give it legs,
Right.
and the past juice. So that's always a good practice. You have to think about, what are you doing after the fact?
And from what I want to look at your packages in a little bit, but from what I understand with some of the higher packages, you kind of will take care of some of that.
Yes. So we do some stuff, and we actually do it with any of our package. So I don't report this stuff out. I think I told you, Joe, earlier, is that I don't report on some of the other stuff that we do, the back end of it, because I just want to keep our digital footprint as shallow as possible. But we have a number of different Google entity stacks, cloud stacks, that we then distribute those PR links on. And then we also have a number of our own private Google News Network sites that we drip out, that either the original article and or the report links out on as well, so that we're trying to, on the back end as well, trying to give some support to those press releases and to those PR links. And we do that because I know if you get it and you get your article and you're like, wow, that really worked, then you're like, hey, you're going to come back and like, wow, that was a great press release service. Versus if we didn't do anything and you didn't see any activity, you didn't do anything on your end, then you're like, well, that didn't
work all that, but great, or as good as I would want it to, right? So
we just do that stuff kind of naturally, but there's a lot more that you can do on your end to do that as well. So
fantastic. So I want to ask one more question, and then I want to hop over to your website, kind of explore some stuff that you offer. So when we were on our call, you had mentioned to me you mentioned how I should be making a bunch of Web 2.0 properties. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Like, I know what a Web 2.0 property is, obviously, but if you can explain what it is and how it would play into the press release process, or is it a whole separate thing that you would recommend someone would do in addition to working with press releases?
Right. So this is just a strategy that is as much SEO kind of relative as anything, but and so this is some stuff that we do in support of our clients, our agency clients, which is, if we have a particular client that ends up, and we have a lot of clients that are in relative niches, whether it could be in health or in manufacturing or a service industry. But we have built then our own Web 2.0, meaning like a WordPress site, a Weebly site, Tumblr, Medium. There's hundreds of these things, but we go and we kind of cherry pick the better ones, and we create a network then that is, and we'll just say it's the health industry. And so all of those sites are going to be around the health industry, and we'll begin to do some interlinking between them. Maybe we'll do some connecting directly, and then we'll start putting content. So with the advent of AI generated content, the ability to be able to almost automatically post content to these things, is like fabulous, because then you can just get on a schedule and just start posting content to keep these things active, start making them look real. And then at some point, when these things have aged a little bit, then you have a client, sync direct, and like, okay, I need some good backlinks for that I'd like for them to be kind of in the niche or relative to. Then you can go begin to put an article and link, do it on one of your Web2s in that little mini hub network, do it on another one, put some article on Medium that you begin to link out to on your Syncs Direct, and have a strategy of what your anchors and what pages you're wanting to link to within those is a good way. Another way is that, and we always do this as well, which is to create an IFTTT ring of all of these Web2 properties. So like if you've got your Sync Direct and you've got your blog with that, so as soon as you post a blog, it's automatically going to kind of take it, post it on the WordPress, typically is the hub site, and then that then begins to spin it and then go distribute it automatically to all of these other sites within that ring. So it becomes kind of an automated process even of helping to provide links. But the better thing is that it really helps on the IFTTT rings anyway, it helps get the article indexed, I think, and crawled faster.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's head over to your site real quick. 38digitalmarket.com. And so anyway, we got I'm the owner of Syncs Direct USA. I got my site set up. I'm making a couple sales. What do I want to do on here today if I want to start improving my organic traffic? And
right.
Maybe what do I want to do in the next coming months?
Right. So I will tell you, and this is not a sales pitch because this is the way that we do this for our own clients, is that we generally kind of alternate from a premium package to a standard package. So we'll always lead off with the premium package because that's going to have all of the big guns in it. And then when we start thinking about a strategy around stacking and all of that, then I'll come back and I'll do maybe the second or the third PR with a standard package. So, right, it helps extend. So I never tell them like, oh, you always have to do the premium package because that's the best. Well, you don't necessarily have to do it. And the way that we package our PRs as well is that you can do a standard package and then do like add on AP News to it if you want, or add on Benzinga to it if you want. Or, we have a lot of clients that are out in the UK, and so they pick up our international distribution channel as well. So you can do add-ons to specifics to help boost some of that. But yeah, but feel free definitely to alternate between and kind of mix up on your own. We try to create, that flexibility, I think, which is always good.
Yeah. So if someone, came on here, they're focusing on running their e-commerce store, they don't really know what the heck they're doing.
Right.
Do you give like a consultation with them? If like say they order the premium package, you can kind of develop a strategy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I always, we always, I don't know if it's directly on that page, but I always have grab 15 minutes with me and we'll walk through, and kind of talk about strategy and some content strategy directly with you. I did, just because it's right there on the screen right now, one of the things that we really in the last 4 weeks, I think now, is we're utilizing podcasts to help drive link juice around your article. So you can do a add-on for podcast. And then what we do is we take your article, we craft a podcast episode using AI voice, and then we distribute that out to, I think we're on 10 different major podcast platforms, Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple and, but what the great thing about that is about at least half of those platforms. So when we do that, we put your article actually in the show notes with the links, and about half of those platforms provide do follow active links from from their podcast platform. So it's a great way. Like all of a sudden you got, hey, here's Syncs Direct, and now I got a active view follow link from Spotify. Actually, Spotify isn't one of those, but Podchaser is one, as an example, that you can get, a great, and podcast links are great for that.
Right. And then if, say, you get one of those podcast links, would you maybe want to come down to here and do some of these links?
Yeah.
I got to look. The podcast links. Oh, you can't see. Sorry, I forgot you're on.
Oh, no, I got it. Yeah. No, these are just some of the other link building things. So you could definitely go like, okay, great. Now I want to go and add some guest posts to help prop up our PR links, or even if you just want some guest posts, we can do, we do guest posts and Cloud Stacks for any particular purpose. So
final question. What do you see the benefit in terms of the stacking versus just pointing all of the links at the page you want to rank?
Versus pointing all of the links. Well, what do you mean? Which links? I guess.
Sorry. So say you have a AP News press release, and you want to. It's linking to your main site.
Okay.
We talked about building out more links to that AP News press release to keep it propped up.
Right.
But are there any other SEO benefits to not driving the links directly to your money site or to your e-commerce site, or you follow what I'm saying?
Meaning like whether it's another press release or just like other booster links as such?
Yeah. Do these links, when you have like link from like AP News, or maybe you have the Web 2.0 pointing to AP News, should you be building like tier 3 links to some of that stuff?
Well, I do think building a tiered strategy is good, because once you get down into that second tier or third tier, so as an example, like we sell what we call PR booster links. And so we use a number of different sites, and we create some stuff. We have our own network of sites, and we'll build links then to your targeted PR URLs to boost them up. Some of those sites I would not necessarily say like, hey, those are, the sites that you would want to point directly to your money site, right? Because they may look a little more, they may not have the link quality or profile that you would want pointing to your, at any quantity anyway, pointing to your money site. And so your PR link becomes like that tier 1 buffer site. So you can go hit it with all different kinds of stuff, especially at the tier 2 even, then you can really go hammer that stuff for whatever. That's why we do like our cloud. So I love doing Google Stacks and or Cloud Stacks, and then putting our press release reports up on a Cloud Stack. So that Cloud Stack becomes that buffer site, and then you can go pound the hell out of that Cloud Stack with all different kinds of, you go use GSA links on that thing and pound 1 million links at it. It'll take it and won't even moan. You would not want to do that to your money site, because you will eventually crash that thing.
Sorry, what is a Cloud Stack?
So a Cloud Stack is utilizing cloud properties like Azure or AWS or Bunny. Bunny is a great one right now. It seems to be one of the more powerful ones. And then building a site up on the cloud. And what we do is build a link wheel. So we've got one main cloud site, say it's Bunny, that's linking to either your money site or wherever you want it to link to. But and then we'll build several other cloud sites that are interconnected and linking only to that Bunny site. So you've got a bunch of other cloud sites from different cloud properties, say like from Azure and AWS, pointing up to the Bunny site, and then that Bunny site's pushing to your money site. And then you can just go pound that cloud site. The great thing about the cloud site is you can make it very niche. So it's a site, right? Just like any other WordPress site, it's in HTML in the cloud. So you can make it very niche relative. It's great for local, if you're doing local SEO, it's a great way to do local SEO relevance to really drive local ranking for a business or a GMB. GBP, sorry. But then because of that, as soon as you create that cloud site, it immediately out of the box, because of the domain profile, it already has a DA of 50 to 60, depending upon which one you're using. So you immediately have got just a great, nice, powerful link, and then you can build that thing up even further with doing a bunch of tiered links to it. So
yeah. So the idea is, Mike, it's just a website on a domain that so that you could build a site on Microsoft's cloud, and it's mikesite.microsoft.com.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And so
Right.
you could point links at that you would never want to point to your main site.
Right.
So for people that are listening to this, a lot of them probably have not taken a lot of steps when it comes to doing SEO and getting too deep into the weeds on this. I mean, really what they need to know is, by doing a press release and even just working with a service like yours, they can kind of build links in a way that's also safe. Because like you're saying, if you just point a bunch of these links directly at your e-commerce site, it's not necessarily going to have great implications sometimes, because Google is going to be like, why are all these random sites linking to Things Direct USA? It doesn't look right. Versus when you take those links, point them at your cloud site, or point them at the press release, whatever. It's a way of protecting your website.
Right.
Because AP is probably just getting a million links a day. Google's not going to think twice about it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's almost like kind of a force field.
Yes. So we call it, it's the buffer site, right? So the AP news becomes the buffer site, hitting your site. So the cloud site becomes the buffer site. And so if anything gets squirrely, you can just sever the connection with that buffer site with your money site. And boom, it's done. It's gone. Make it go away. And you've remedied any particular issue. And the nice thing about a cloud site or a Google entity stack, which is just using Google properties to kind of create the same kind of thing, is that you can make it very niche specific so that it's relative to. So when you're saying, Mike, instead of these random sites linking to your site, well, you could build a very nice cloud site with great authority, good metrics, that's around utility syncs, and build that and then link that directly out to your Slap sync page, and it's it's a relative piece of content, right? So
gotcha. Well, yeah, I mean, definitely was a lot to take in. I think really, if anybody on the e-commerce side, I think they see the value in doing this, because it's a way to get not necessarily just traffic, but get appropriate links pointing to your e-commerce site in a way that's going to boost rankings for the pages that you care about.
Right.
And so they can kind of eliminate they don't need to know all the details of this and how the buffer sites work and all that stuff. They can just use a service like yours. You basically handle it, and it will give their pages a good chance of ranking.
Right.
So my idea with the show, I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Hope the future watchers enjoy it. My idea with the show was just to kind of give you guys something where it's not like, oh, I got to do outreach and develop this, use Pitchbox and develop this whole process of reaching out to websites and getting links that way. I wanted to kind of introduce you guys to one possible strategy where there's no way you're going to do this yourself. You just go on Randy's site, click a few buttons, and see how it works. You should be constantly testing, constantly trying new things, learning new things.
And always keep in mind you're building referring domains, not just backlinks, but referring domains. So you want to get a lot of different domains pointing to pages. And I know Joe and I talked about this. one of the reasons why I love press releases, because it can serve up referring domains very quickly and relatively inexpensively compared to the time and resources and cost. That if you're doing like what you mentioned, like Pitchbox and doing outreach direct, it could take you forever. Think about how long it would take you via outreach to get 400 referring domains.
A very long time, and it wouldn't be very cost efficient,
Right.
So
exactly. And that's, I mean, that's something that, we talked about it with the AI content. Like when we were learning stuff and going through the ropes of trying to do this stuff, not just for affiliate sites of our own, but dropshipping sites. I mean, Joe, you had a full-time guy that was just doing Harrow. You had a full-time guy that was doing all the outreach. And this is stuff that you've been in the weeds learning, and it's still not an easy process.
Right.
Versus now with the AI content, with a service like yours, it eliminates a lot of the bottlenecks for a beginner to, again, start building authority to their e-commerce site, start pointing links to the right pages, having those pages rank, and then getting free traffic to these pages where they're going to make a few $100s a sale, $1,000 a sale, and that can pay off very well for people.
Now, we still do Haro, but we've created a script, or it's called a scenario. I don't know if you've ever heard of the site called make.com. They used to be called something else. I can't remember what they used to be called.
It's like Zapier.
It's kind of like Zapier, only a bit more sophisticated than Zapier. But we created a whole make scenario for the AI automate Haro Outlook. So we don't even mess with it. Yeah. So it goes into our Gmail where we get the Haro notification. And then we use 3 different sequences of integration with OpenAI to go answer, create a subject, and go fish out the email. And then it just goes back out to our Gmail and emails it back out to the Haro query. And it's surprisingly effective.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's I gotta say, I feel like when the past 2 times I've talked to you, you always have like an additional layer of things that you're doing.
Yeah, well, always trying to be a good student, right? So
yeah, no, there definitely is a lot of depth to the stuff you're doing, and honestly, a lot of the stuff that a lot of other people are doing. I have like a love-hate relationship with SEO. The past few months I've been more into it, so I've been learning more and more about this stuff, kind of going deeper into the rabbit hole. But as I'm sure you can attest to, it's like it gives you these dopamine hits and then these drops, and it's kind of like it could be like a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, I feel like.
Yes. Well, my challenge always with SEO is that I want it to happen now. And so it drives me crazy. I'm like, okay, why isn't this working yet? What do we, and sometimes you just get like, do the stuff and just be patient, let it wait, let it percolate, because Google doesn't operate on my time frame. They got their own. So,
yeah. I think it comes down to oftentimes, I mean, if you're not a local business, a lot of our audience, they're trying to essentially generate an income online.
Right.
And there are lots of ways to do that, as I'm sure you know. I mean, look, you're a digital agency owner, which is one way to do that, but that requires a lot of, this is what I tell people. I had a student come to me who has no experience with SEO, very little experience with paid ads, and he wants to start an agency from nothing. So my philosophy is, like you start off with the education stuff. I think it helps too, if you're going to do an agency, build your own properties first, flip a few properties, learn that way. And I feel like, well, that's what we try to provide, is we try to hone in on, really like, what are the best business models that you could start with little investment, don't lose money, and have a high probability of making money.
Right.
That's kind of we've been doing since 2014.
Yeah.
We've done a lot.
Well, I love your model about the high ticket drop ship. I think that's a fabulous model. I don't know that I've got the bandwidth to, to start that model right now. But I think it's a great model.
Yeah, some of our students have had some pretty impressive flips with it as well. I mean, obviously, we've sold our fair number of properties. We've had students do exits over 500,000 on Empire Flippers and stuff like that. It's just you combine the high ticket offer, whether it's a product or something else, with the relevant traffic from Google, and that's all she wrote, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, Randy, it's been fantastic having you on. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely, enjoyed it.
And hopefully, people start take you up on some of this. We're going to start talking more about this inside the course as we get deeper into your services.
Yeah, good. And if anybody has any questions, they can always reach out to me directly as well. So that would be fine.
And 38digitalmarket.com, the number 38.
Right. Yep. 38.
All right. Thanks, Randy. Appreciate it. And
all right, guys.
Well, just hang out for 1 second if you can. I'm just going to say goodbye, and then
all right,
we'll say goodbye to you. All right. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy.